Okay, guys, we are now in a place that I've always wanted to see, always wanted to document the President's Walk. This is the Washington Hilton on March 30th, 1981. President Ronald Reagan gave a speech. I do believe it was here in the International Ballroom. President Ronald Reagan gave a speech at a union event. And afterwards, the president was exiting through a side door, a VIP entrance, and John Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate the president in an attempt to impress Jodie Foster. This is the ballroom right here. I'm gonna see if I can get in here and take a look. Guys, I have just learned as well that the White House Correspondents' dinner is held in this room. I always thought it was, but I did not know, which, you know what this means? Presidents alike have stood on this stage. And people like Steve Bridges and Rich Little were up here as well.
Members of the White House Correspondents Association, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, here I am. Here I am at another one of these dang press dinners. Could be home asleep. Little Barney curled up at my feet. And so I'm not going to try to be the funny guy, but I have the opportunity to introduce one who will be. And so, thanks for the dinner, and it is now my honor to bring to this podium a talented and good man, Rich Little.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can't wait to get home and add you to my resume as being an opening act.
I can't believe I'm actually in the ballroom where Ronald Reagan gave his speech before he was shot. What? I didn't even notice that. There's a podium up there. You know what this means? As an impersonator, I'm about to do something really awesome. Who the hell are you people? Well, you know, somebody asked me the other day. They said, Mr. President, do you think the war on poverty is over? And I said, yes. Yes, indeed, it was. And the poor lost. Those little suckers never had a chance. Now, I'll take a few questions. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. President, will you be sending jets to Israel?
Well, no. What the hell would they do with a bunch of football players? No, I think the Jets should stay in Boston and play football. Any other questions? Yes.
Mr. President, why do you honestly think
that you got shot?
Well, as I said, after it happened, I guess I forgot to goose.
That's duck, sir.
What?
Duck.
Oh, duck. That's it. Duck. Thank you, America. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And happy Kwanzaa.
Now I will take one question only. Yes, you down front here. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. President, Zach Arnold from the Incredible Impression YouTube channel.
What the hell is that?
What the hell is what, sir?
YouTube. It sounds like something a lonely woman would keep in the boudoir. But anyway, go ahead, go
My question
ahead.
is about food. Do you have a favorite homemade meal, sir?
Well, no. You know, I've never been a fan of homemade meals. As a matter of fact, I despise homemade meals because I Good God, I'm having a jowl movement. You know, I never liked home-cooked meals. I think my favorite meal of all time is takeout food, specifically Chinese. After all, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, but then again, I wouldn't know how to make an omelet because I am not a cook. Wow, I still can't believe I'm here. I'm here. I've arrived at the Washington Hilton Hotel, the ballroom where President Ronald Reagan gave the speech before he was shot, and where the White House Correspondents' dinner takes place. Wow, can you imagine? This room was seen on so many presidential occasions, and I just made my mark in presidential impersonating history. Can cross something else off my bucket list. Alright guys, I found the spot. National Historic Place. On March 30th, 1981, President Ronald Reagan marked the 100th visit to the Washington Hilton by a sitting U.S. president. Reagan had been invited to speak in the International Ballroom at a meeting of the North America's Building Trades Unions. Upon exiting the hotel along T Street at 2:27 p.m., Reagan was struck and wounded by a gunshot fired from John Hinckley Jr., who had been waiting outside. Gunshots also wounded Reagan's press secretary James Brady, D.C. police officer Thomas Delhanty, and Secret Service agent Timothy McCarthy. Reagan recovered from the incident and visited the hotel several times afterwards. It took place right here. If my memory serves me correctly, John Hinckley Jr. was standing somewhere around here. Reagan would have exited. Of course, they built this up since then, but Reagan would have walked out right there. His car was somewhere around here, and about here is where he was shot. And James Brady fell somewhere over here. There was a grate over here, and James Brady fell somewhere over here. And there's a famous photo of the crowd before the shooting, and it was taken about right here, and you can see John Hinckley Jr. standing there. Now, of course, this flower bed wasn't there at the time, but Hinckley was standing within the crowds. Right there. Little piece of history. And the car, the presidential car, pulled out and raced that way towards George Washington University Hospital. Wow, I never thought I'd be standing in this spot. Now, Ronald Reagan was president when I was born, but I was not born in this country. I was born in Milwaukee. No, I was born in Seoul, South Korea. Wow, getting the chills, getting a little bit of the chills here, guys. Piece of American history took place right here. You know, I step over here and I can almost picture Ronald Reagan stepping out of those doors and waving. Alright guys, we made it and the weather held up for us. We are now walking along the trail en route to the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. You remember I got a picture of it last time from across the Potomac, but did not get to come here personally, so we're gonna do this here. The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. In 1968, right here in Washington, D.C., he gave that speech. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Sorry, I'm trying to read it, guys. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right temporarily defeated is stronger than evil triumphant. Norway, 1964. Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal right. You will make a greater person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in. He made this speech in 1959 here in Washington, D.C. Toppest, what does that say? Oppose the war in Vietnam because love America. Speak out against it, not in anger, but with anxiety and sorrow in my heart, and above all with a passion, desire to see our beloved country stand as a moral example of the world. California, 1967. Okay, I can't read all of these here, so I'm gonna keep moving here, plus the weather's starting to get windier. Oh wow. Little waterfall here. All of this was carved out of granite. This is called the Mountain of Despair, and you can see it's got a gap in between it because out of the Mountain of Despair, a stone of hope. And who said those famous words? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the stone of hope. He is literally, the stone is breaking around him, and he is walking out, revealing hope, justice, and the American way, equal rights for all races. It's just sad that he was cut down long before his time, but he paid the ultimate sacrifice to make the world better for the black culture. And for that, we thank him. He had a dream, and it came true.
It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The clouds are moving in. It's kind of symbolic to me how the clouds rolling in and the storm is about to break, and Martin Luther King Jr. went through a lot of quote-unquote stormy weather and stormy conflicts in life, and it's almost as if the storm is, he is emerging from the storm in a way. That's how I see it, certainly. Out of the storm comes peace, love, and unity. And of course, right over there, walking over to the Jefferson Memorial, is where I took that photo shooting across the Potomac and over here. That is an amazing, colossal carving. I just can't get over the likeness of Dr. King, how accurate it looks. I mean, my goodness. I've seen a lot of great artists in the past, but this gentleman here, I forget who he was, I forget his name, but he really captured Dr. King's details. Amazing. Signature of the artist. December 30th, 2010. I believe he was an Asian artist of Asian descent. The Stone of Hope. I'm laying my hand on it. I can't leave without walking through the Mountain of Despair. I can't leave without doing that. Now we'll walk back through it, back to the Stone of Hope. Just passed through the Mountain of Despair. to the Stone of Hope. Guys, I think I just saw a flash of lightning, so I'm gonna get out of here. Plus, I only paid for 15 minutes of parking, and I think we've been here longer than 15 minutes, so better get going before I get a ticket. Okay, guys, last place. Fellow Beatle fans, look out. You're gonna love this. If my memory serves me correctly, that is Union Station. That's actually where the Beatles got off the train when they performed here in Washington. The rain is beginning, but we made it. Lightning. This is the Uline Arena. This is the entrance on 3rd Street. But we Beatle fans know it as the Washington Coliseum. I was able to match up the shot. That awning there is still there. And these areas over here were there. And I matched it up because of these pillars here and the awning and the two and that glass area over there with these 2 corridors. However, they have since built up on it, and right up there is where the little Washington Monument was, and the Washington Coliseum with the Beatles logo. And if that's not enough, I gotta get out of here in a second, but over here, 1964, the Beatles' first concert in the USA. That is awesome. The Washington Coliseum, former site, now the Uline Arena, where the Beatles performed in 1964. And as a matter of fact, my friends, Beatlemania Now, Scott Arch, Graham Alexander, Chris Cologne, my one bandmate, and Eric Smith performed here on the anniversary of the concert. I wish I could go in and take a look around, but I don't think I can. But I'm gonna at least see if I can. So guys, I've just been informed that the arena, and I did not know this, the arena is no more. There is no more arena. It's been converted into offices and stuff. But they did allow me to film the timeline here on the wall. So I'm just gonna do a quick pan through, and then gotta get out of here because I wanna go home. I wanna go back to the hotel. I need to get something to eat badly. But this is where the fans would have entered. And here we go. On February 11th of 1964, the Beatles performed their first concert in the U.S. at the Washington Coliseum, less than 48 hours after the band's appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show. Tickets ranged from $2 to $4 with over 8,000 people in attendance. Among them, wow, I did not know that. Among them was future Vice President Al Gore. Oh, and 3 months after the death of her husband, Jackie Kennedy attended a circus performance with John, and there they are. As a matter of fact, you can see behind the lads the old Washington Coliseum sign. Wow, there is a lot of history here. Even the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, and Ted Kennedy was in the audience. Wow. The Temptations performed here. Concerts are banned at Uline Arena after riots break down. Oh, yeah, yeah. And another plug. Hi, Scott, Eric, Graham, and Chris. Beatlemania 50th anniversary concert yesterday and today. I believe you guys did this. Beatlemania Now, my friends. Fellow Beatles musicians. That is awesome, guys. There's the arena as a parking facility. That's where the Beatles were, right around the center there. I remember they had to keep on turning Ringo's drum kit around and around for the audience. But yeah, this was the former place. This is where the fans entered and everything. The old ticket booth grills. That was neat. And there's the swamp, and I'm standing outside of the entrance. That's pretty cool. Take one last look at the entrance. And guys, that's gonna do it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification so you'll know when more, what's the term? More incredible vlogs are headed your way. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. The vlog is over.